dozen different species and subspecies of sponge. Of course, we don't have all of them here. Most of the sponges that are in the shop, and as I said, all the sponges in this shop are from the Gulf. But the sponges grow attached to a reef or a rocky bottom or even a shelly bottom, okay? And see how they're attached?
Yeah.
And then when the sponges come to maturity, which usually is about 4 to 5 years for our purposes, then the typical sponge, it is harvested by cutting it off about here, and then they leave about that much to continue growing. Okay, it grows about an inch, maybe inch and a quarter, sometimes a teeny weeny bit more than that, your average sponge every year. So by the time that it's grown, you know, X number of inches, then it can be harvested. Since sponging season is typically only 6 months long or so, this year I think it was a little longer because the weather was so nice. The sponges are a really important part of the ecosystem because they are they're a filter feeding animal. So just like little algae eaters in an aquarium, these on a much, you know, broader scale are helping do that, you know, with the Gulf. They would have either a glass bottom in the boat or partial bottom, or they would have buckets that had glass bottoms. So they would look in the water, and when they saw sponges, they would take a big pole with a hook on it and actually hook the entire sponge up. So, for example, that is a wool sponge. This is also a wool sponge. Now that's a piece of one, okay? Now this is also wool sponge, but see how that is a little more, that's just got a different feel to it. It's a little, the fibers are a little more dense. So usually what that would mean is that this sponge grew in deeper water than the sponges that were more airy. So this would make a great sponge for doing the faux painting on the walls, etc., because it will hold the pattern. This is the type, and it will hold the pattern. If you were to use a wool sponge, they are so absorbent. They actually hold at least 5 times the amount of liquid or water that a synthetic sponge will hold.
So with the sponges, like you said, they were natural filters.
Yes.
Like which type of sponge? Like the denser ones would probably filter more.
You know what? They all filter enough for what they need as you know, an animal. A lot of people don't realize, you know, that they are animals. A lot of people think because they don't move around, you know, like your little algae eater, like I told you about before. But they do through, and some of the different holes you can see, all right, more easily. Excuse me. See how you can see some of the holes, and then some are for breathing in, you know, the different the little particles and that they use to, you know, nourish themselves, and then they expel them, and then when it's wet you can see where the little holes are. And actually, yes, and some of course are for, you know, intake, you know, of the little particles and keeping the Gulf clean. And then, you know, you can also tell when some are not that way when they're wet. Some are just that way because the fibers aren't as strong. Is that a sponge that grows in like a more sandy, shelly bottom is not going to be as strong as a sponge that grows in a rock, you know, more solid ground. All right?
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Jerry?
Yep.
Okay. So you can fish for. Okay. So on like your daily basis, around how many fish do you?
On a good day, we catch about 500 pounds. I'm a grouper.
Wow.
I fish for grouper.
Grouper?
Grouper, snapper, right?
Where do you usually fish?
20 miles offshore.
So you just
Right.
like turn it on and it
Yeah,
goes
you
down.
catch the fish, you feel them bite, and then you hit a switch and they reel it up.
What type of bait do you guys use?
I use mullet, I use squid, and I use sardines. You guys want to see a sea creature?
Yes.
Yeah, hold on one second. This is like an alien of the sea, man.
I'm
These things
scared.
are really freaky. Look at that thing.
What is that?
What is it?
That's called sand flea.
A sand.
That's a really
sand
big
flea.
sand
And that
flea.
comes from 300 foot of water, 300 foot deep.
Is it dead?
Yeah, it's dead.
Wow.
That's actually coming out of the stomach of a grouper. When I catch the grouper, I kill them, and then I gut them.
How do you kill it? You like?
I got a pick, a kill pick,
Okay.
and I hit him in the head.
Oh.
Kills the
okay.
suffering, and makes him not suffer. Then I gut him, then pack him in the ice. And well, this come out of the stomach.
Wow.
Sand
this
flea
is
is
a-
really little. Like,
This is a claw off a rooster crab. You guys ever eat she crab soup?
nope.
Ew.
No.
I've only had snow crab.
Well, this is a different kind of crab.
That's
That's
cool.
the claw. They come out of the stomach of it too. Some people collect this stuff like that. They make, you know, crap out of it. I don't know.
That's fun.
Cool.
Want it?
Can I like hold it?
It doesn't. It shouldn't stay.
Ew, it's so scary. So wait, these live on the bottom of the
Yeah,
ocean?
they live. They're like a shrimp or a lobster. They're in that crustacean family. They live on the bottom in the sand.
That's so cool. Wanna hold it?
You guys can take it with you if you like.
Thank
Really?
you.
Really?
You can have the claw
Thank you.
too.
Thank you. I'll show this in our presentation.
Mr. Leota's gonna love it.
Yeah, get some extra credit on it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Thank you.
Anything else you guys need?
So although it is really pretty in here, it smells terrible.